All right, here's our first installment for the week of April 6th. So the first page we're going to work on today, we're going to skip the previous one where we said tournament probability. We're going to do wins versus total games played. Okay, now again, all of this is related to the bracket, which if you didn't already do the first 4 pages of the packet, then you cannot do this page yet. So please do that. I've literally had less than half of you even turn that in. So if we could do that, that'd be great. Okay, so when you filled out, so first when it talks about region, when we're talking about East, West, South, Midwest, those are all related to the bracket categories in your thing. So again, these were related East, West, South, Midwest. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what is the average in terms of the percentage of games that each of them have won. Okay, well, you already did each of this for each of the teams if you go back to the front. So when you go back to the front, the first page that we did was the East. So these are all the teams that were in the East category on that left top-hand side. Okay, you should have already found all the numbers of wins and all the total games, and then you already calculated their win percentage. Now this was per team, but then we're going to do it for a region. So all you're going to need to do, is I already did this on this one, is you're going to need to add up all of this column. That's 378. You're going to add up the total game column. That's 523. And again, all I do is add this together in the regular calculator on your phone. And then I'm going to divide them to turn it into a decimal, and then that turns into a percentage. So overall, the teams in this region won 72% of their games. Or they did 72% win average. Okay, so then what you're going to do is you're going to go back and you're going to go to the other four regions, and you're going to do that again. Okay, so that's how you're going to fill out this first chart. Then it's going to talk about, are there more winners that are in certain regions for, like, so for example, if you were comparing this to football, and like generally speaking, there's a lot of teams who win in the SEC. Is it fair that all the teams are in the same region? Yes or no? So just explain that. Then overall for all 68 teams, so the fraction. Well, if you already know the fractions here, you can add all of those up. This creates a giant fraction that's the overall decimal. Then you can turn that into a percentage for the overall percentage for the whole team. So again, for my front, I had 378 out of 523. This turned into 0.723, which is 72.3%. So I already did the first one for you. You have to do the other 3. And then we're going to talk about how does the overall average compare to each region, which would show you that. Then, for this last section, since we didn't actually get to do the tournament, normally you would write down what are your final 4 picks. Now, if you made a bracket last year and you can remember the teams that you picked for the final 4, whether they matched up with the ones that actually won or not, you could pick whatever teams you wanted. So had you chosen, I don't know, Duke, but you thought Maryland was going to win, and then you picked LSU, but then you picked Louisville, for example, for the East region. Okay, whatever team you picked into the final 4, and remember your final 4, in case you're not familiar, are these 4. So if you didn't pick a team last year or you don't know how to pick it, you could always use Michigan State, Texas Tech, Virginia, and Auburn. Those were who ended up in the final 4. However, last year when we did this assignment, they hadn't played yet, so we were just going off of what we had. Okay, then you're going to go back to, so say I had picked Duke, for example, and I wanted, well, Duke wasn't even in my final 4, but say I thought Duke was going to win, okay? Duke didn't make it to the final 4. They were a huge upset. Okay, so Duke's fraction was that they won 29 out of 34 teams, right, which you already did on the front. So this is just reiterating because we thought it was me Duke, 29 out of 34, which is 0.85, which is 85%. But let's say then you thought Texas Tech was going to win, so you would put Texas Tech even though they did actually end up in the final 4. So whatever final 4 teams that you thought were going to make it last year, or you can pick the final 4 teams out of the bracket, it doesn't matter. Then when it says to explain these things, so benefits and risk of using statistics with the tournament. There's always going to be an upset at some point or another. For example, Duke was ranked number 1 and they did not make it to the final 4. Most people had them in like winning the overall tournament, for example. Historically, there has always been schools who make it to the final 4 to the Sweet 16. Now, there are statistics to use that, but again, when it comes neck and neck with basketball, a lot of times they're only winning by 1, 2, or 3 points. So that are some of the dangers and risks of using that. You should have like a couple sentences explaining this. You can always Google it if you need some suggestions. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Please email myself or Ms. Pavick and reach out, please. We need you guys turning all this in so we can get some great grades this quarter. Thanks. Bye.